Please welcome back Beth Bechdol.
All right, I think everybody is probably still out networking, so I'm going to ask if you can hear me in the back, start coming back in. We have our two closing program sessions that, again, we're really excited to bring to you. I think somebody said early they weren't sure how we kept everybody here. Of course, I think it's the content. Maybe it's because we actually lock the doors once you're in and we don't let you out. Just saying. We don't really do that, but we could. I'm really looking forward to moderating this next conversation. This is one where I sort of get chair's prerogative to guide this particular session. This is a group of individuals and industry leaders that are based not only here in Indiana, but in other parts of the country, and all of which have global responsibilities. These are 4 individuals who are with us this afternoon who really are very intimately involved in each of their companies' decision-making and investments in all types of innovation. And I think there are especially a number of lessons that can be learned from their backgrounds, from the things that their companies view as priorities, and their own sort of personal roles and responsibilities as well. So I'm going to just walk you through their names and their organizations and ask them to come up on stage and join me, and then we'll go into the conversation. So you guys can go ahead and come on out. We have, I'm going to watch as they come. We have Susanne Wasson, President, Crop Protection Business Platform for Corteva Agriscience. Susanne is also on the AgriNovus board and on our executive committee. We also are joined by Rob Stewart, President of Growth Ventures and Strategic Pricing for Cargill Protein. Paul Ray, Senior Vice President, Ag Solutions North America for BASF, and Randy Sergesketter, Senior Vice President, I think you win for the longest title, okay, just saying. Senior Vice President, Global Platform, Crop Harvesting, Agriculture and Turf Division, Deere and Company. Did I get that right?
Very good.
Okay, all right. Okay. So I, again, am really excited about this conversation. A number of these folks I have known for a long time. They are, again, all really incredible ag bioscience. I'm calling you ag bioscience leaders. Have you, besides Susanne, because she knows, have the rest of you yet been called ag bioscience thought leaders?
Not yet.
Okay,
That's a first.
But you are today.
Okay,
Okay, all right, excellent.
If you say so.
So I'm going to ask each of the panelists to, much like we've done with some of the other conversations, really sort of take a couple of minutes and do some self-introductions. And I've asked them, much as we've done with others, not necessarily to give your own sort of personal or professional bio, but really talk about how and where you touch innovation inside your organization, maybe the significance and the importance of it, and then we'll talk a little bit more, again, nature of the conversation around the decision-making process that each of you individually and in your companies has to take to really sort of push the boundaries, maybe remove the boundaries, since that's now the new title of the summit, according to Lucas, how you approach that. So Susanne, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Sure, thanks Beth, and it's really a pleasure to be here. My background is almost 30 years, with starting with Dow Elanco, then Dow Agrisciences, and now Corteva Agriscience. And you know, it's really interesting. We talk about Corteva Agriscience as a startup with over 200 years of experience. So, and I have a lot of experience with our heritage companies, and it's really an exciting time for us to be a pure play, U.S.-based agriculture input company, one of the largest. So. When I think about my role in the company, which is leading our crop protection business platform, we're really focused on future innovation and technology. So my team of portfolio leaders and our business development team, work on what is the next best technology to bring. And in the crop chemistry side of the business, we're very highly regulated, so as highly regulated as the pharmaceutical industry. So it takes somewhere between 10 to 12 years to bring a product to market. So we're hand in hand with our R&D teams looking at what innovations we think farmers will need, in that 10 to 15 year range, because that's how long it takes, and a lot of that research happens right here in Indianapolis, just north of here. So we have a very close relationship, lockstep with R&D in terms of bringing products through our product pipeline into the market. And we also partner with our manufacturing team in terms of how are we going to manufacture that, make it cost competitive, and make it where we have viable tools to help farmers improve their productivity and profitability.
Great. Rob?
Great. Rob Stewart, and I think my purpose is to separate the competition here between the two companies. But super glad to be here. You just never know what opportunities present themselves. So I was in Wichita 6 months ago, met Beth, and here we are.
Rest is history.
Yeah, exactly. And I haven't been back to Indiana for years, and had the opportunity to come back last month for National FFA, and now again. So it's feeling like a bit of a homecoming. 20 years in the industry. First 8 or 9 were with Dow Agrisciences, and the last almost 12 with Cargill, and specifically in our protein business. Even our protein business used to be called Cargill Meat Solutions, but changing it to Cargill Protein kind of shows a bit of the transformation that we've undergone over the last couple of years. But from a role perspective, I oversee what we call our growth ventures, and one of the few that have disruption in our job description. So when I show up to work on a day-to-day basis, we have a small team of people that are focused on we will do various scouting, wanting to understand kind of what potential disruptors are to our business. And when I say disruption, it's not necessarily a bad thing either. Often disruption can come across as being disrupted, but we look at being disruptive to where really our team is heavily focused on trying to disrupt ourselves internally, so we can stay ahead of the game and also not be disrupted. So from a focus standpoint, we will handle things from traditional M&A to engagements with startups to engagements with various accelerators, making equity investments, things along those lines across various categories. They can range from bringing in new business models to investing in potential future product concepts, and within our core business, or also as we're looking out to future disruptive things that we view that may be disruptive in the future. So thanks again for the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Paul?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul Ray, and I'm from BASF. Great to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I'm located in Raleigh, North Carolina, which is our North American Agricultural Solutions headquarters. And probably right now you're thinking, man, this guy's got a really thick North Carolina accent.
Have they noticed your Twitter handle?
My handle was a bit of a giveaway.
Yeah.
But have lived down there for about 15 years. But prior to that, also worked with BASF in Australia. Also did some time in Singapore. I led our Asia Pacific business, which gave me an interesting perspective on what does farming look like in developing nations like India, Indonesia, and really highlighted lots of different things of how innovation can show up in those situations. In terms of my responsibilities here, I really am responsible for the sort of strategic direction of our business here in North America. And so that touches innovation left and right, whether it be our new projects that we're developing, whether it be the investments we make more regionally. But I also serve in a global capacity with our global executive leadership team on steering our global projects, because at BASF, we're a global company, and really having scale for the investments we make is really important. And so I see all of our research projects coming through from a very early stage right through to commercialization. And so setting our priorities, making sure those projects are on track, and what's influencing us there is always a constant discussion. So thanks for being here today.
Thanks. Randy?
Well, thank you, and also it's a pleasure to be here with you today. It's great to be back in the great state of Indiana. I'm a Hoosier.
I know.
Grown up, so very happy to be here. I have 39 years with John Deere and have had the good fortune to work in all parts of the business. And I'm currently responsible for global crop harvesting. That's a mouthful. But basically have the business planning, portfolio, design and manufacturing responsibility for our crop harvesting products, combines, cotton pickers, sugarcane harvesters. I'm also a member of the Ag Leadership Council, and as such, provide oversight to all the research and development that we spend on agriculture products inside of John Deere, and have direct responsibility for R&D and innovation in crop harvesting products. So we're continually looking for ways to make the machines more productive, to meet the needs of our customers. They're really driving us. Faster, bigger, stronger is not good enough anymore. Our products have to be smarter, they have to be more precise, more connected, and easier to use, and really innovation is a key part of that. I'd also mention I have, for the last 15 years, been John Deere's key executive to Purdue University, and I've been on the Dean's Executive Council at the university for the Polytechnic for the same amount of time, and involved in recruiting and research at Purdue as well. So it's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks for being with us. I'm going to go ahead and, Randy, flip this first question to you, but this is for everybody to kind of follow. I think one of the things that is always helpful, we talk about innovation, we say technology, we say R&D, and sometimes for those of us who are non-technical, non-scientific people, I need real examples, right? I sometimes need that. Give me a real, tangible innovation investment decision or investment that you have made. I think of, and I'm not trying to answer for you, but I think of Blue River, sure, right, as a natural, and sure. I know each of your companies have those types, so it's not saying it needs to be. I think sometimes there are the very public, very high profile, sometimes maybe big dollars associated, and sometimes they are actually much more understated but very important, smarter tools, maybe on a smaller scale, that are necessary. Could you just give us a couple of maybe recent examples or standout examples from Deere, and then we'll ask each of you to kind of share your version of that.
All right. Well, first I'll comment. I'm just returning from the Agritechnica fair in Hanover, Germany, and it's the world's largest ag equipment seminar or fair. It's quite amazing, and I would tell you that John Deere came away with the highest medal count and the only gold medal in the fair, and two of our crop harvesting products received 2 silver medals. So this is all about innovation and new technology and capabilities. So fresh off of an innovative experience. But I'll build on the Blue River because it is very interesting. We've made a lot of acquisitions in the last few years, and we make them for lots of different reasons. But the Blue River innovation was really one that was more about acquiring innovation and some capabilities that we don't have or we didn't have. And it's really an AI company. It's based in Sunnyvale, California. And they developed a smart sprayer capability, smart sprayer system using deep learning algorithms that actually goes out and identifies and sprays the weeds. So it's not spraying the plant, it's spraying the weeds, not spraying, covering the ground. So think about the disruption. Think about the savings to the customer in terms of 80 to 90% reduction in herbicides, and think about the environmental impact. So again, this was John Deere's recognition that we may not have all the capabilities inside our company and all the innovation, so we went out and acquired some innovative capabilities in AI, machine learning, and they have a lot of really great folks out there. We have a lot of great folks inside of John Deere, and they're all working together very nicely, and we'll soon you'll see that product in the marketplace.
Great. Paul?
Good. Maybe approach it with 3 different examples, if I could. One would be the most obvious. Last year we spent about $2.2 billion on research, which funds projects over the very, very long term. We have about 11,000 scientists always working hard on those projects. We have about 3,000 projects globally. Last year we got about 900 patents from that investment, and that's kind of a continual investment. About half of that money goes into agriculture, so just around $1 billion. So it's a big commitment every single day that we're opening the doors, spending that money, which we truly believe in is needed and will warrant us a good return. Second example would be where I'd say maybe over time we've changed quite a bit in that we are openly collaborating with other companies and other organisations that have capability, maybe on a similar basis. And some examples there would be just recently we've signed a collaboration with Bosch to also develop our own smart sprayers as well. They have capability in camera technology, and we see that opportunity as well. Another example would be we partnered with a weather analytics company out of Penn State. to really identify how we could smarten the use of our products, and that's probably at the other end of that spectrum. It was small, they were a relatively young company. We tested the technology, we validated it, and then we actually went and acquired them. And that probably leads on to the third example of acquisitions, also features in our innovation strategy as well, and probably our most recent example would be the acquisitions we made last year, acquiring many of the Bayer assets. It was our largest acquisition that we've made and really gave us brand new capability in seeds and traits, digital, and a whole range of other capabilities that really supplemented and really expanded our innovation capability. So I think the examples are large and small, they're multifaceted. It's not all made from home. It's a combination of strategies that ultimately comes to bear to make us who we are.
Great. Rob?
Yeah, a couple things. One, I think Drew mentioned earlier that he was presenting and talking about Dow Agrisciences at the time, and it was in Indianapolis, and many hadn't heard who it was. Cargill can be one of those companies. So just real quick about Cargill, 155 years old this year. Privately held, largest privately held company. 150,000 employees, 120 billion in sales. So one of those big companies many have never heard of. Lots of things to be proud of there, but also that can come across as old and slow and things along those lines. So that's a lot of what we do. So to have a couple examples here, kind of tying it to innovation and also too, just thinking about being a privately held company, family owned, kind of getting that mentality around, hey, 154 years ago, that entrepreneurial spirit. How can we inject that into our company today so we can make it another 150 plus years? So one example is just around listening to our customers and our consumers. Consumers were saying that, and we have an insights team. Consumers are saying they want to have more connection with the turkey. So honeysuckle white, 'tis the season. When you go to the grocery store to buy your turkey, honeysuckle white, please. We'll appreciate the business.
You should have provided. There was swag on the tables for sponsorship.
But with that, consumers were telling us that they wanted to have a stronger connection with the grower. Around the turkey that they had at the dinner table, and we were able to leverage, invest in blockchain technology, where you can, so we will know by the lot to what farm it came from, and then a bit of a story. So when you purchase your product, you can scan the code, go online, and you'll be able to see the specific farm that came from. So that's one, tying back to the customer, and then the other would be more around the producer side. So when you look at commodity risk management, understanding of weather patterns, et cetera, we invested in a company called Descartes Labs, which is able to take, there's all kinds of kind of satellite data out there and just raw data, and they're able to take the satellite data and make predictions around yields, around different things that can help farmers make better decisions around when to sell their grain.
Perfect.
So a couple things.
Susanne?
Yeah, so I think, for Corteva, one of the benefits of bringing our three companies together as one was being able to leverage across our platforms. A great example of new technology, although it's been registered for a while, but we were waiting grain import approvals, is our Enlist weed control technology system, which pairs the seed, the trait, and the herbicide technology, allowing farmers to have a complete system for weed control. And that's being launched this year in soybeans finally. So it's been a long haul with a huge amount of investment. We're really excited about that. But one thing that is new, and we actually just launched and announced this morning, is a product called LandVisor. And that is a digital tool that we've developed in partnership with our digital platform, where it's a combination of using satellite imagery and data analytics to help ranchers be able to really know where they can focus their treatment efforts to increase their forage, which ends up in increased pounds of beef that they can sell. So it's a great new technology. We've partnered with our digital team to bring that, and it's all about sustainably taking care of the land and allowing them to be at a higher productivity level. So you're hearing it first here today, just launched today.
All right, very good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
one of the other themes that I think, as I've talked to each of you individually, know a lot about your companies, and then the topic that came through loud and clear through all of today's earlier sessions, talent. I'd kind of like to take a minute to target in on that, because I think sometimes I very intentionally wanted to sort of hear these responses from you about the startup or the really innovative technology platform that you just kind of had to get out there and either acquire or grab, or Paul build internally. That's a portion of this formula, right? A portion of it is about the technology pain point that perhaps you have, or the next generation innovation that you need. But I'm pretty sure that you're each gonna have some pretty important comments around the importance of people that goes along with these innovation investments. I'd also be curious if any of you have actually very strategically bought talent. You know what I mean? Meaning the acquisition wasn't strictly about the technology acquisition itself, but maybe was about the people who were associated. So anybody want to start on that one? Paul, you want to maybe take that?
Yep. I must say I was nodding my head in agreement with a lot of the other speakers today,
Yeah.
and I think they make some really, really good points that I can only endorse. It's key. It's absolutely key for us, and I think it comes down to skills and capabilities. Do we have the people with the skills and capabilities? I think as an industry and as a company, we need to do more to reach out beyond agriculture's walls, so to speak. And something we're always trying to do is tap into the bigger BASF that is on the campuses of MIT and the likes, to find those skills and capabilities which we might not normally look for. So I think that's something we've got to do a lot more of as an example. So I think the skill range across the board is needed, and that's really key. And I suppose digital always features heavily right now, I would say, for us. And that's an area where we have acquired specifically the capability and the talent. But I'd also say it comes down to other things as well. I mean, we're leading large, complex projects, large, complex organizations. That sort of can-do spirit, that collaboration capability, the soft skills of leading teams in a really uncertain environment with lots of challenges is also really, really important. And I think we're always on the outlook for people who have those capabilities, that proven ability to do the really hard and challenging, and bring the team with them, because that's real leadership. And that's, for us, is really key, is that we don't always need people with the absolute depth of experience on the subject matter. There's lots of people we can get there. Often what makes the difference is the people leading those teams and really collaborating the right way. And at that point, I think, as an organization, we're spending a lot more time in talent, as an example, on really tapping into inclusion, because if you want to be an innovative company, you want to get the best of everyone when they come to work. And probably we're leaving opportunities on the table when everyone doesn't come fully engaged. And so we're really trying to upscale our leadership capabilities around how do you get the best out of everyone? Everyone's got a seat at the table. Everyone's got innovative ideas. How do we get more of that on the table and really leverage that? And that's really a cultural subject, I think, for any organization to deal with. And we're trying to spend more time there to really get the best from the talent. But then also be the kind of place that when we bring people in, they feel at home. And we had that experience just recently, as I mentioned, with our acquisition. We had about 4,500 new people joining the organization. And it was really important that we set the stage with a really warm welcome, but also with the view that, hey, you've got real great skills that we don't have. We want you to stay. We want you to bring your best to work every day, and really spend a lot of time on trying to focus on that, which is maybe a change maybe I've observed over time, where maybe we will focus more on the strategy, the products, the technology. We've made a real shift to make sure it's the people that hold the key.
Yeah, great. Rob, you want to take that?
Yeah, just one additional thought that came to mind is just thinking more on the startup side of things and some of the equity investments that we've made, and as we're presenting that to our leadership around, are we going to invest or not? And you can spend lots of time, diligencing and working on, future revenues, future cash flows, path to profitability, all that. But I found more often than not, our leadership is normally saying, well, tell us about the team. Yeah. Tell us about the founders and what do you, and there's a couple of projects that we've invested in where don't know. I mean, chance of success, not sure, but just around the management team, founders, et cetera. It's like, if anybody can do it, I'll put my bet there.
Yeah,
So,
great.
Yep.
Suzanne?
We, as Corteva, well, actually it was as Dow DuPont invested in a company called Granular, which is farm management. I call it the ERP software for farmers. And what that really taught us was that there is a skill set, and people are drawn to the West Coast. They're based in San Francisco. But what we've been able to find, is that they get interested in the business and the other parts of our business, not only just the software business. And I'm working, in crop protection with people from Granular on how can we engage all their knowledge and expertise to build tools that help farmers use our products better. And what we're starting to see is there's that opportunity to go back and forth across different business platforms and work together, which provides a great career path. It really helps us understand the skills and what the people that are in the digital tech space want in terms of careers. So I think it's been really powerful in a learning for us to understanding that talent, and that, yes, we think they all want to be on the East or West Coast, but actually if they get really engaged in the business and they're passionate about it, they're willing to make those moves to get closer to the business. And we see them moving from the granular business into R&D and our data science area, into our business platforms and back. So I think it's really powerful.
Great. Randy?
I think similar answer. I think any of the mergers or acquisitions or partnerships that we're involved with, they only work with the people. I like the answer earlier up here, people, because that's what makes it work. But we're really not just focused on attracting great talent, but we're also focused on retaining talent. Earlier, I think someone mentioned some of the challenges of maybe recruiting into the Midwest or into Indiana or into Iowa. Sometimes the new recruits have different ideas about where they want to work. And so we have made some acquisitions on the West Coast to assist that. And you mentioned Blue River. That was clearly an acquisition of talent. We did get some technology, but really it's an acquisition of talent. And again, some of our other acquisitions recently, we're acquiring the talent, and then we figure out how to integrate the talent. And then, more importantly, we figure out how to keep the talent.
So remind me, I think it's all four, maybe it's not all four, but do each of your organizations have your own venture arm or venture group internally, right? I mean, BASF Ventures and Cargill Ventures. John Deere has.
We don't have John Deere Venture Capital, but we have multiple groups that are involved in acquisitions and basically doing the same type of work.
Yeah, and Corteva has.
We're still kind of in the early phase. We don't have Corteva Ventures, but we have a couple examples of what we're doing today. One is what we call the Innovation Center, which is an online innovation portal where scientists or researchers can come with a problem and particular area be paired with one of our scientists. We can put challenges out there, which then people, that are outside of our company can say, well, I think I have an idea of how to solve that. Another area that we're focused on is called the Radical Challenge. And the applications are due early December, but startups can apply, and it's a partnership with Radical Growth to get a stipend to be able to further what they're working on, which is a big challenge in agriculture. So those are a couple of examples of what we're doing today.
I think for us in Iowa, we're involved with the Iowa Ag Accelerator program, which is for startups. And then last year we started a startup collaboration out of our office in San Francisco, and we've had cohorts from around the world. So we're starting to recognize the need to be more innovative in attracting that startup capability.
And I would have to imagine for maybe Paul, you and Rob, who have that as a very structured part of the company organization, that's got to be an incredible sort of search tool to be out there sort of scouting and looking and finding these next iterative, disruptive innovations that then, not only gives you the due diligence and the market intelligence, but also lets you actually acquire ultimately some pretty unique investments.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Sometimes it takes time, right, to do that well, and having someone dedicated on that all the time really helps, because again, it's about building relationships over the long term sometimes with these interactions, and I think to be on that constantly in that geography. We have people located in San Francisco, for example, and elsewhere in those sort of innovation hubs, so they can actually build a longer term relationship and really sort of find out what's really going on. So it's a real asset.
Yeah.
Rob, do you
I was just thinking also, leadership is key. We think about how you need structure, but it needs to be unstructured too. And like what makes our core business successful isn't necessarily what's going to make our Growth Ventures group successful. So it is one of those where we have rigor, but at the same time going and call it filling out 50 MOCs in order to start a new product. I mean, our role is really to start something, learn, fail fast, and pivot and start again. And so we've got pretty good structure around what can be perceived as unstructured too within the larger organization.
Great. Yep. So the clock, I hate the clock. I have a gazillion more questions, but I want to be mindful of our closing out of the program. Maybe closing question for each of you. Again, I said there was obvious reason to invite each of these individuals to be here, not only them personally, but their organizations that they represent are critical to the success of the long-term ag bioscience economy here in the U.S. and globally. But that's not to say that I don't also sometimes have ulterior motives of asking you to be here and be a part of this. Maybe I'll close it this way and say maybe two questions. What can we here in Indiana learn or take away from lessons that your company or experiences, investments even, that your companies have made in other states, other regions, maybe even other parts of the world, might not even be here in the US, that are these are the things that matter to us. Here we are in industry sort of leading the conversation around economic development and next opportunities to invest in innovation. And so for us here in Indiana, we want some of your secret playbook tips and rules of thumb that we might learn from. And then I might ask you to also close out your comments, because I know you have all been able to spend the day with us, which means you've gotten to hear a lot, meet a lot of people from Indiana. And Susanne, even though Corteva has Indianapolis, that doesn't mean that, right, there aren't other aspects to your experience in Iowa, in other parts of the world that are relevant to this. But what has maybe impressed you, and what more can Indiana do to sort of take advantage or scale up so that, Randy, the next John Deere IoT lab happens to be, here in Indianapolis or in West Lafayette, right? Okay. Talk a little bit about each of sort of those topics as we close out.
Well, I think this event is remarkable. This is the first time that I've been to this type of event in Indiana, and I've not attended other events in other states where you're promoting the states and states' capabilities, and you're integrating the education and the industry, and I like the bio plus the sciences plus ag, and I continue down that journey when you talk about machine learning, internet. I mean, it's all merging together. And I think the team that wins, or the group that wins, or maybe the state that wins, is that can put all those pieces together. So I think advantages that you have here in Indiana, again, I'm a biased Hoosier with a lot of Purdue background, but you have a number of very high quality universities here in the state, more than most universities, and certainly Purdue is the leading, or one of the leading ag universities in the world, so I think you need to market that. I also think you're one of the key I-states. I mean, you're one of the main agriculture states in the country, which makes you one of the main agriculture states in the world. So you have a huge advantage, I think, with your natural resources. So I think more integration like this and more awareness of what you're doing and more aggressive engagement with industry would be very positive. And I'd also tell you that in my role as key executive at Purdue, one of my goals is that we do have an innovation center at Purdue University, similar to what we have at University of Illinois. And I've been working on that for a long time.
Everybody from Purdue hear that? Does everybody in the
I've been working on that for a long time without, we made a little progress this year, but not much, but certainly hope to fulfill that vision someday.
Excellent. Paul?
So first of all, I think you're doing a really good job here. There's not many other states that are taking this approach, and I really like the thought leadership angle you're taking here, because there's so many topics that agriculture needs to address that this kind of forum is perfect for. And I think that moves the whole industry forward. So I would say keep going, but be patient. It takes a long time to build the village, so to speak. And I think stay the course is really, really important. And then I think you'll be surprised the momentum that you build. Second perspective, and maybe it's a selfish one from a global company, but think global. Think of what you can do to connect with organizations way outside maybe the US, and bring that capability in as well. also I think just makes you more appealing for those big investments when they come down the pipe. The other area for me that I think is really important, I think Indiana already leads, is those quality agricultural institutions you have. It's a really strong foundation, and we come here and we recruit deliberately in this state. And we look at our professional development programs. We have a very high proportion of people from Indiana, and that speaks volumes of the quality of what you're already doing. So don't forget the real assets you have today. Keep going, keep the thought leadership in front of everyone, and I think those investments will come.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Rob?
Well said. A couple things. One, did some research prior to coming. As Cargill, I didn't realize we have just under 1,000 employees in the state of Indiana. It was like 994 as of yesterday when I pulled the numbers. So it could be more, it could be less today. That was one.
Do you want to get to 1,000 today? I'm sure we crowdsourcing of Cargill.
Exactly. And then also as far as keep pushing, keep moving forward. As part of my role, you get the privilege of being able to go to a lot of these type of forums around the world, and this is super impressive. And we spend a lot of time going to San Francisco for various shows, and to Brooklyn for various shows and things. And when you think about kind of the formula that's going on right here between business schools, universities, industry, I mean it's here. I mean,
like that.
Yeah, and then also just the last thought. I know you had the opportunity to visit our new office in Wichita, and I know that was a big decision around, are we going to stay in Wichita, are we going to move, and things along those lines. But it just seems like talent is so important, not as if it hasn't been important, but it feels like it's a bit of a seller's market or a talent market. So really setting yourself up to be attractive for talent. And I just think about things that we've done in the city there in order to make it to where you can recruit people from California or Washington D.C. or Chicago to move to Wichita, and you just kind of really understanding that and trying to be open to helping make those various investments around good restaurants and live music and things like that, and ways to engage families. All that's important, and people have choices. So.
Great, thank you. Suzanne, you want to close this out?
Sure. So, having our global business center here in Indianapolis, I'm already on board with Indiana, so for sure. But I think, one, for us, the great thing is we have our customers just a few miles, outside of here, right outside our door in our global business center, which is north of here. I think the other thing that I don't always realize, but we have a lot of global folks that move into our global business centers from all over the world, and even our colleagues that have moved here from either Wilmington or Iowa, and they're so impressed with Indiana and Indianapolis and all of the things that we have to offer, whether it is great education, and that's schools, high schools, all the way through universities, and there's so much to do here, and people don't understand or know that, right? Before they ever come here, and it's been such a great recruiting tool just to have them come visit and spend 3 or 4 days here. And I think as AgriNovus and what we're trying to build here, we have to be better cheerleaders for all this great stuff that we have here today, because we have a great foundation. It's just how do we get that message and amplify it out there. And things like the summit are one of the ways that we do that. So I think we're doing a lot of great things.
Well, thank you. I'll take all of those as very high compliments to all of the things that are happening here in Indiana. Thank you again for taking the time. Your experiences, not only in the industry, but again, the way you each approach innovation and the decision-making aspects that you've been able to share with us have been really helpful. So please join me in thanking our panelists. Thank you very much for taking the time.